didn't hear anything in the school. We're in the cafeteria. Everything looks normal. They're at the loadout right now.
We have an active shooter call here.
What?
Yeah. Is there anything that's going on? No?
That's what I'm aware of.
You guys can keep all the kids in here for me. Gentlemen! In there for me!
Last month, Governor Greg Abbott instructed the leaders of Advanced Law Enforcement Rapid Response Training, or ALERT, to provide training programs to all Texas school districts in response to the Robb Elementary School shooting. KVU's Tanvi Verma shows us what that training involves.
Law enforcement officers need to prioritize the lives of innocent civilians over their own. That's one lesson right out of the ALERT training. How we found this out? A report by the House Investigative Committee on the Robb Elementary shooting details some of the core concepts of the ALERT training. Let's start with communication. Law enforcement officers should have a regional plan, but if their radios don't work, they should communicate in other ways, like using runners, and they should try to make sure their message was received. Now enter into an active shooter situation. Law enforcement should try to get a key, but if a key isn't readily available, then they should try to get in by using tools like a sledgehammer. Law enforcement should form a team and enter the area where the shooter is. If there's only one law enforcement officer on the scene, they should enter anyway. And the first law enforcement officer should provide a report on where they are, what they see on arrival, what they plan to do, and what they need to complete the mission. The first goal is to eliminate the threat, then provide medical care to the wounded. The hopes are that some of these protocols can prevent another law enforcement failure like the one in Uvalde. For KVU News, I'm Tanvi Verma.
Hello police, what is your emergency?
Receive. We've got any units free. We're now getting a night grid. 2-4, go ahead.
So my name's Jules Dawson. I've been police officer for I was a special constable for 3 years before joining the job as a PC. I've been working on Westminster for about 7.5 years now. So at the moment we're just taking a night graded call to Carlton House Terrace, which is just off the Mall, to a suspicious package. We get a lot of these in Westminster, obviously being the borough where we are. So these are quite a common occurrence. Most of the time they turn out to be nothing, but the odd occasion we do deem suspicious and we do call them and we bring in sort of experts, etc. But I'm hoping on this occasion it'll be nothing, but we'll soon find out. Dispose of it, yeah. So as expected, all safe. So we'll take it and we'll just dispose of it, just to save us getting any more calls. Yeah, that's the most common result. As I say, I've probably only ever done a handful where I've had to actually sort of call it, get people down, etc. But I'd say 9 times out of 10, this is what we do. I find sort of late turns especially is probably one of our busiest shifts because it's just call after call after call after call. And if we've not got a lot of numbers in, because we get a lot of obstructions with aid, yeah, you're just being bounced from one call to another. So being proactive is quite a hard thing to do these days.
So we had a abandoned phone call from a distressed female. That's why it sort of, for me, it made me think straight away of any potential domestics. And hence why I've asked the controller to do IOP searches on the previous calls to that address, and they've confirmed that there has been previous incidents between mum and daughter of domestic incidents. Initially this call came out as an escalate, which is 45 minutes, so someone that's not a blue light driver like George would be able to go to. However, because of the call of the distressed female and the previous history stating domestic incidents, then George obviously flagged that up to the controller, asking for it to be put on immediate response. Therefore, we can use the blue lights and drive a bit faster to get us there quicker, in case obviously there is someone's in danger at the address.
Hello, can we come in? Yeah. Yeah, so the call gone to, well, just been to rather, domestic incident between mum and daughter. It's obviously escalated to a point where the daughter's had to call the police. There's been no kind of physical assault or any other kind of offences. It's literally just a heated argument. It'll be passed through to our community safety unit who deal with domestics. They can review it as well. If there are clear offences there, either someone's been assaulted or things like that, then it usually does lead to an arrest. In these circumstances, it can be a bit more tricky. Sometimes you can argue that going down the route of arrest can cause more bad than good. Sometimes a short-term solution to a long-term problem. But you have to, with domestics, you have to look at it mainly by risk. You have to be on the ball, really, I suppose, for any call that comes out. Save life and limb is always our top priority. So if there is a call to someone on a bridge, we kind of drop everything else, and that's it's one we have to go to. So that's always a call that we'll prioritise and try and get to as soon as we can. So the call we're going to now is a male at Leicester Square at the urinals, masturbating. So yeah, we'll get to figure out what's going on, try and speak to the caller, try and locate the male in question. It could be anything to do with mental health, or he could just be doing it for his own self-gratification, but we'll soon find out. How are you? So the got a call obviously to the gentleman in the toilet masturbating. We've spoke. Well, the informant flagged us down, told us what had happened.
He's had his phone out, he's pushing forward. Standing at the urinal. He's sitting in the urinal, just pushing forward.
Found the gentleman. He was pulling his trousers up as we got to him in the urinal. We've let him out, had a chat with him, sort of done our checks, all the procedural things that we do. Fortunately, the informant and his friend, they didn't wish to. They wanted to remain anonymous, essentially. They didn't want to provide a statement or go to court. So, in those circumstances, we've got no real evidence. Has to be someone who's outraged by the event. In this case, we haven't got a statement to say that. So we've done all our checks. He's been given some very strong words of advice. Advised that obviously if he does have those urges, he should do it in a more private setting, as it were. So yeah, we do definitely go to calls that are not strictly police matters. A large majority of that is to do with mental health and mental health related calls. But yeah, it can take up a lot of our time. But that's what we're there for, to make sure that people are safe and things get dealt with accordingly.
The call doesn't come out as a mental health related incident. Something as clear cut as there's a lady screaming in the street.
Oliver, just try and relax.
or somebody's having a mental health crisis, or
We're going to Street to a lady apparently setting fire to things and throwing them out the window.
In Edmond, one of the more common calls we get are domestic disputes. They're not necessarily always between a wife and a husband or boyfriend and girlfriend. We get a lot that mom and daughter, mom and son, father, son. It can be a range of different people, roommates. You know, we have a university here, so we have a lot of people living together in apartments. When we respond to these domestics, of course, we want to respond in a safe manner, safe for the officers and safe for the citizens. And we're going to get a peaceful resolve. They're obviously in a crisis mode, and we're going to help them out of that situation. And we want to do that as quickly as possible and as safely as possible. That's the Edmond way. Okay, we just received a call of a domestic. It sounded like a verbal domestic called in by a neighbor at one of our local apartment complexes. Could hear a man and a woman that sounded like shouting at each other. We don't know if they're intoxicated or if there's weapons involved, since it was called in by a neighbor. We're having another officer meet us over there, and we'll go from there. I can hear somebody yelling.
Yeah, I can hear them too, at least two people. The first thing we do is stop and listen. We approach with caution and see if we can hear the arguing from the outside, see if we can hear what they're saying, hear if there's anything physical going on or if it sounds mostly verbal, how many people are inside the residence. And kind of try to assess the danger at that point in time.
Police department. Hello, sir. Everything okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
What can I do for you?
Well, we got a call. Somebody heard somebody yelling and arguing in this apartment. They were concerned, so they called us.
Maybe, yeah, everything's fine here.
Okay.
Well, I don't need you guys here.
I understand. When I was approaching, I could hear you. It sounded like a female in there. Is there a female?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Is she okay?
Yeah.
Are you okay? You look
perfectly
okay.
good. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm great.
All right.
I don't. What do you guys need?
Well, he initially, I could see both of his hands. He opened it wide enough where I could see his hands, so I wasn't concerned that he was holding a weapon or anything. I couldn't see anybody in the background. I couldn't hear her anymore. We initially, when we came up, we could hear a female, and now she was quiet, so we were kind of concerned about her. I wanted to get him out of the apartment, away from any weapons he might have. I don't know what's behind the door. Well, we need to make sure she's okay.
I'm telling you she's okay. She's just fine.
Listen to me, sir. I heard you guys arguing. Okay. I
arguing
can't
about
hear her right now. I can't see her.
Right.
And so I'm kind of concerned that she's injured. Was there any physical confrontation between you two?
No, she's fine back there.
Okay. Well, we're gonna need to check her welfare.
Good.
All right. Go ahead and step out for me, sir.
I
Go ahead and step.
I don't really need
I understand. Step out of the door for me. Right over here. You got any weapons on you?
I don't know.
Okay.
I carry a knife usually.
Step over here for me. Step over here for me. If you don't mind kind of yelling to see if you can get a hold of her. We're just going to make sure she's okay, and then we'll get out of your hair, okay?
Do you mind if I open your door and just
I've told you
see if I can
guys
check
I don't
on
need
her?
you here.
Okay.
But apparently you're going to do whatever you need to do. So whatever. You know, I don't feel like you guys need to be here. I think you guys need to go.
Understand.
Everything's fine. I've told you she's fine. Everything's fine here.
We just need to make sure she's okay, and we'll get out on our way, all right? Go ahead and turn around for me if you don't mind. Do you mind if I pat you down for weapons?
Well,
I'm just.
You feel like you have to, I guess. Whatever.
Okay.
Sir, I'm going to step inside right here and just see if I can talk to your wife, okay?
Great.
Is that all right?
Sure.
All right.
Okay. If you don't mind, just go ahead and turn around.
Ma'am, it's the police department. Can you hear
Put
me?
your hands behind your back. Interlock your fingers like you're praying. Sir, no, turn them the other way for me.
Say what?
That's turn them the other
Hello,
way for
police
me.
department.
You guys need to get out of here.
Hey, sir.
I've told you guys to
Relax,
What are you
relax.
doing? Am I
Sir,
under arrest
just
or
relax.
something?
Relax.
Why are you? I told you guys to
We're
go.
just here to
Everything's
check
fine.
and make sure everything's okay, all right? Just relax. Calm down.
Yeah, he started getting agitated, and for my safety and his safety, I wanted to get him under control. Officer Meadows came back, and she assisted me with him because, like I said, he was starting to kind of resist a little bit. I did see the knife, and by putting him in handcuffs, he cannot reach for that knife. I can safely take it out of his pocket, and that way we can avoid any kind of escalation on use of force. We try not to put handcuffs on people unless they're going to jail. Sometimes if the situation's escalating and we fear for our safety or theirs, then we may have to do that. We kind of escalate with the force as it goes up.
Man, you guys just need to go. There's no problem here. Everything's fine. We're all fine. You can
Checking on your
you can see
wife.
that I'm fine. Everybody's
Ma'am,
fine.
my main concern is the safety of the wife and any other people that are inside the apartment. As we entered the apartment, I was looking to make sure that no one was hurt. I was looking for any evidence of any sort of physical altercation, and then checking the other bedrooms as we walked by to see if she was inside there until we were able to make contact with her.
I'm sorry I didn't hear you. The kids are back there.
Okay. Are you physically okay?
Yeah.
No injuries or anything?
He didn't put his hands on
just a verbal argument
just
tonight?
Verbal.
I'm sorry. It's a long day, and I work all day.
I understand.
My conversation with the wife, once I finally was able to make contact with her, is number one, checking her safety, finding out if she had any injuries or needed medical treatment or anything of that nature. And then, two, what the problem was and whether or not she was okay, and then how to resolve the situation.
Go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and take those cuffs off. You seem like you've calmed down a little bit. Took the handcuffs off when he was no longer a threat. He had calmed down. He was sitting down, and I'd already removed the knife from him. We could see that she had no physical injuries. She was saying she was okay. So since he was no longer a threat, he was not under arrest, I went ahead and removed the handcuffs.
When we respond to domestic type calls, they're one of the most dangerous types of calls that we respond to as police officers. For one, it's the danger of the unknown. We don't know what's going on inside that apartment. We don't know if it's just a verbal argument or if it's physical or if someone's inside very seriously injured. We don't know if there are children involved, if children have witnessed this. Of course, it's very emotionally disturbing to them, but we've actually seen some very serious calls where they do result in injury. So if we can arrive there and intervene and hopefully de-escalate the situation, get there before physical violence has incurred, then that's something that we hope to achieve and hopefully keep everyone safe.
Turns out it was just a verbal argument. There was nobody, it did not get physical, nobody got physically hurt. So he's calmed down quite a bit. The kids are going to stay here with the mom, and he's going to leave for the night. Edmond is a safe community, but we do get our share of domestics where people do get in some verbal arguments, and they need the police to help calm things down. So when we respond, that's what we try to do. We try to get there and make a peaceful resolve, and most of the time just our presence there calms the situation down, and they're able to come up with their own solution to the problem, temporarily at least. In fact, very little of those, less than 10%, ever end in an arrest, somebody going to jail. If we can do that, then we're doing our job. That's what we want to do. This video was produced by the Edmond Police Department and the Cops Leadership Council. To learn more about the Leadership Council and its partnership with the Edmond Police Department, please visit edmondpd.com or call 359-4440.
The difference between the brave and the coward is a heartbeat. In that beat of fear, a coward is afraid and runs away. The brave is no different, only they are afraid to run away and step forward.
When you first get there, you got a lot going on.
Open door on the east side of the city.
We've got victims, we've got uninjured people, there's chaos going on.
Guys, it's not going to be fun. You came there looking for a fight. Guys, if that round breaks, you can't move faster than that bullet. You've got to take that door with speed, surprise, violence of action.
We need to talk to each other. Where's those shots coming from?
First and foremost, stop the killing.
This is our tool, and we should be good with our tools.
So once you stop the killing, the next thing we have to focus on is stopping the dying.
People down, injured, shots fired. Send me medical, send me more officers at this point.
Report of an active shooter. Injured one will be setting up staging.
To let the guy bleed to death, or do we do something? Where do we want to be?
Where are you at? Where are you talking to me?
We will try to put some rescue task forces together.
That man right there, if that had been your loved one, would one of you have stayed with him and treated him?
10-4, we're sending RTF 1. Agent 1 is assuming RTF 1.
We have got to get everybody who's going to respond to this thing to come to the table, agree to work together.
RTF coming in, RTF coming in.
All right, cops, you ready to deploy another team? Okay, you guys, I want you with RTF 2.
If they can walk, let's get the walkers up. Let's segregate the walkers over here and the carriers over here.
Exchange point. CCP is right here.
You, and you are coming with me.
It does not matter if you are law enforcement, fire, or EMS. You are the brave. You are the ones who are devoted to their duty, whatever the day calls for.
It is one of the most intense and realistic training exercises for local police, an active shooter scenario at a Southland school taking on new urgency now after the tragedy in Texas. Police officers and firefighters in Corona finishing up a 3-day intensive active shooter drill today.
In a story you'll see only here on KCAL 9, our Rena Nakano got an exclusive up-close look at their training scenarios. Although it is a drill, some of the images you're about to watch are graphic.
Shots fired come from the southeast of the complex. White male, black shirt, tan hat, making entry.
Looks real, sounds real, feels real, but this is a drill. It's 10 a.m. on Friday at Auburndale Intermediate School in Corona. A man with a gun goes on a shooting rampage, taking down several students along the way. Corona police is there within minutes. Officers run after the suspect and find that he shot himself.
Suspect's down inside a boys' locker room, inside the bathroom.
While the immediate threat is over, the chaos is not. Dozens of kids and teachers are hurt. Some are already dead. Corona Fire comes in, triages the wounded. Everyone is in survival mode until the trainer says stop.
This is part of our ongoing active shooter training program.
Corona Police has conducted this annual Joint Alert training session since 2013. It's a federally recognized training method used by all the regional departments. Thankfully, these officers have not had to use this in real life.
Addressing how to put on tourniquets.
But with the recent tragedy in Uvalde, Texas, this couldn't have come at a better time.
A sickening feeling, to say the least, to see that and then prepare ourselves mentally to respond to something like that.
The department says this training is well overdue. Because of COVID, they haven't done an active shooter drill since 2019.
We're losing consciousness.
Volunteers from the Police and Fire Explorers program act as victims and survivors. Participants say it's a learning experience for them too.
Acting dead, or whether it's just hiding in a really good hiding spot, just makes you a lot less of a target for an active shooter and to keep you safe.
After each scenario, the trainers debrief their teams, so if and when they're faced with this frightening encounter, they're ready.
We hope it never happens, but if it does happen, we are prepared to deal with it and deal with it quickly.
In Corona, I'm Rena Nakano, KCAL 9 News.
Shots. Open door.
Okay, so we're watching this active shooter drill. You can hear gunshots down the hallway.
Down the hall. Yeah, move. Move. In there, in there.
I'm not putting up with this anymore! 5 years!
One down, black over blue jeans, got one down inside the hall. Room opens up deep right.
They're going in. This is ALERT, the Advanced Law Enforcement Rapid Response Training Center. The FBI has named this training the national standard for how cops should respond to an active shooter.
It's scary. How do you get people to overcome their natural responses?
There's a term that we call stress inoculation. It's just like any other inoculation where you get dose of something and your body builds up a tolerance to it. We have to do that with stress. It's going to be stressful, it's going to be chaotic, it's going to be confusing. Any human being doesn't instinctively want to run towards this and risk everything. But because somebody else's lives are at risk currently, we have to.
The center was created over 20 years ago after the massacre at Columbine High School, which permanently changed how law enforcement responds to active shooters, from waiting for backup to confronting a shooter immediately.
Are there ways to respond incorrectly?
When it takes too long for us to figure out what's happening, there's a sea of things that we could choose to do, but there's one or two correct things initially, and that's stop the killing, stop the dying. If we do anything other than that, then we're wasting time and resources on things that are not going to save as many lives as possible.
In Uvalde, police arrived at the school 2 minutes after an 18-year-old entered the building and started firing. As the shooting continued, as many as 19 officers were inside the building in a hallway, while children and teachers hid in classrooms calling 911. Still, the officers didn't breach the doors.
For the benefit of hindsight, where I'm sitting now, of course it was not the right decision. It was the wrong decision, period.
It took at least 75 minutes before officers unlocked the doors and took down the shooter. By then, 19 students and 2 teachers were dead. While Alert didn't train the Uvalde police, the officers who responded had gone through a similar active shooter training just 2 months earlier, in March.
When you look at what happened in Uvalde, there's a, very public conversation now about the response that went wrong. What is that like here when you guys see that unfold?
It's easy to get emotionally charged, and when you watch that, because you understand the tragedy across the board that's happening, but we have to be patient, we have to wait, get actual facts, data, and then we know what we're dealing with. This is something that it doesn't happen as often as the stuff we do day to day. Traffic stops, take reports, investigate crimes of other natures that occur on a regular basis. What's required for us to be able to handle one of these is something totally different than what we do day to day.
This is our breaching facade. So you can practice all kinds of breaching, from ramming things to prying things open to shotgun breaching, even explosive breaching on that. I would say almost every police department within 100 miles will come out here and do training. At this point in time, we trained more than 200,000 first responders representing every state in the country.
Dr. Pete Blair's been studying what happens during mass shootings for over a decade. He literally wrote a book called Active Shooter Events and Response. What happens to people when they're in that real traumatic environment?
So if you get under a high level of stress, your heart rate goes through the roof, right? You get the adrenaline dump, you have tunnel vision start to kick in, audio exclusion where you don't hear things very well. People can freeze up and go into code black, we call it, where they're just not functional. And so you look at places like the fire service and other disciplines where they're training almost every day, if not every day. It's always ongoing, there's always something happening. So often in law enforcement, training is a separate special event that happens, and we do that training and then we move on and we go back to doing our job, and then that's kind of it.
Is it possible to really ever be prepared for something like this happening in real life?
Ultimately, will you ever know until you encounter that situation on the day? And the answer is you can't. You can't know for sure until you've encountered it. All we can do is provide you with training, prepare you for it as best we can so that you know what you're trying to do, you've experienced something close to it before, and hopefully on that day you'll be able to respond appropriately.
Despite the tens of millions of dollars poured into national training programs, law enforcement officers have been slow to respond before Uvalde. The school safety officer at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas was charged with neglect for staying outside during that attack. 17 people died. And 31 police officers were sued for not protecting the dozens who were killed and wounded at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando.
A lot of people watching the response in Uvalde, I think, have lost a lot of faith in police response. How do you convince people that it's worth continuing to invest in training?
What else would you do is the first question, like, okay, what's the solution? Then you're gonna say, we don't provide any training, we don't spend any effort on it, and see if things get worse.
But in some sense, we've accepted the reality that the mass shooting is going to happen. It's just about how many people die.
For us, it's about how do we respond better to limit that. The solution to me is that we need more training, and simply checking the box and saying that I went to active shooter training at some point in my career is not enough to prepare you to respond to that event. You have to practice those things. And that's why we are big proponents of policing moving toward a training culture where that training is happening all the time.
I'm Michael Learmonth, editor-in-chief of Vice News.
Too often, traditional news outlets shy away from the real stories and experiences of those living through global conflicts. Not Vice News. Our reporters are on the ground, fearlessly covering the human stories that shape our world. You and millions of others can continue to read, watch, and listen to Vice News for free. But we hope you'll consider making a one-time or ongoing contribution of any size at vice.com/contribute. Every contribution, no matter how big or small, helps support the journalism Vice News brings to you every day. Thank you.